The one thing female-headed families can't do is they can't raise boys.
Let's state something obvious and see what happens.
They can't.
That's what happens. It still happens. It happens all the time, like clockwork. So welcome to another reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to an old Phil Donahue Show segment where George Gilder is being interviewed about men and marriage. And you're going to be able to see from the audience reaction here how little has changed.
I think that for thousands of years, marriage's purpose was to, in stage one, marriage meant economic security. For the first time in history, marriage's purpose is being redesigned, and we're saying the purpose of marriage is not economic security anymore, it's personal fulfillment and happiness.
And you like that. And so we just get out our little eraser and we erase human nature because the standard of living has gone up, and because we have more discretionary income now, we just will say we want everything to be different, including marriage.
Marriage has to be an economic institution. That's the basis of it. It's men supporting women and children, and by supporting women and children, they gain access to children who are otherwise beyond their reach, because he's inferior sexually to her.
I want you to notice how he defines this. What is the nature of the inferiority? What's the nature of female superiority in the sexual arena? He's not saying that women are the superior sex. He's saying that women are superior sexually, men are inferior sexually. Listen to what he means by it.
He's not inferior sexually. His sex has been kept.
He's optional sexually. Just a few powerful men could beget all the children to sustain the society.
Yeah. Why do men have to take most of the risks? That's the point.
Why do you want to put us in such a powerless position,
because we are powerless.
Gilder's not arguing for what ought to be. He's trying to point out to everybody what actually is. All right, what actually is. It is the case that a few powerful men could be the fathers of all one powerful man, Genghis Khan, could be the ancestor of half of East Asia, right?
Really survived this, you know. I mean, I myself am just, I'm grateful I'm walking around
in
here.
Ourselves, we are unnecessary sexually. So we have to perform and support families in order to gain our participation.
But when you say perform, you really do open up a tremendous door to, if you say perform, then you inevitably commit a certain percentage of the males who are not going to perform well enough. Yep.
So Donahue is completely missing his point, as I think Gilder is going to point out in just a second.
And the result is alcoholism, drugs, wife abuse, all those other bad things.
It's much worse if you have a liberated society where powerful men can assemble their harems. Then there is a large number of young men who mathematically can't find young women, and that is destructive. So the crucial thing is that the powerful men not be applauded and for leaving their wives as they grow older and marrying young women, because there are two victims. One are the older women who can't get remarried most of the time, and the other are young men. And young single men are the barbarians who invade every society.
So here's where Gilder is making his point about the barbarians. And again, follow his argument, follow his stipulated definitions.
Single men perpetrate over 90% of all the violent crimes.
Yes, they do.
They are the addicts. They're the propagators.
They're the guys at the football game without a shirt, with a can of beer that's about this big.
And those people don't build a society that can compete productively with Japan, for example.
But George,
so what?
The point is the man has to perform to get women. And that is the reason he performs. And if the woman is available to him too readily, he doesn't perform. Single men earn only a little bit more than half as much money as married men of the same age and credentials.
And we have a culture which is promoting singleness among young males.
But George,
and with that comes a loss of self-esteem. I'm trying to understand your point, George.
Right.
And so we have a lot of unattached males out there who are quite literally not being tamed.
That's right.
And they make a mark on our society in various antisocial ways, which create a welfare problem, etc.
AIDS problem.
Huh?
AIDS problem.
You think homosexuality is promoted by this?
Sure. Anthropologically, there is almost a complete correlation between societies that have polygyny, that is, the powerful men can have a series of young women.
And there's a lot of gays in those societies.
Yeah, those precise correlation. Exactly, the societies that have polygyny also have conspicuous homosexuality.
So we really do appear to be shaping a world in which the traditional heralded virtues of maleness don't even get a chance to act themselves out.
Except in IBM, in entrepreneurship, in aggressive economic activity.
Functions of testosterone, another function of testosterone.
Of the sort that still drives economic progress all around the world. But that happens only through marriage. Only through marriage.
Only through marriage will IBM have responsible vice presidents working for the good of the corporate...
The overwhelming majority of successful men are married. Just overwhelming. As single men earn only a little more than half as much money as married men of the same age and credentials.
Here are two views about where we may or may not be going regarding the sexes and our culture and marriage and the corporate life and war and peace too. Do you have a daughter? How do you feel about this, and where might you be found in this dialogue? We'll give this Connecticut audience a chance to get in just a moment.
Brace yourselves. We'll skip the commercial.
I'm the mother of 3 children, and every day when I dress my 2 daughters, my son's too young, I have them look in the mirror and say, I believe in myself, I can do anything I want to do. And the last thing that I'm going to teach them when they do come of age to know men is to depend on a man or even a friend to complete their happiness.
Phil, let me ask you.
Now, what are you going to do if they come home? You know, I can't live without him. He's my everything. I don't know what I'll do. I'll die without... What are you going to do? You'll have to lock her in the basement.
No way. I'm going to remind them what they've been taught all their lives to believe in themselves. It's in here. It is not in anybody else outside of you.
May I ask you to take that one step further? To ask your daughter not to think that independence is merely supporting herself, but that independence and equality is being as willing to support a man and the children as she expects the man to support her and the children.
What you get is female-headed families by that route. And the one thing female-headed families can't do is they can't raise boys.
Let's state something obvious and see what happens.
They can't.
That's what happens. It still happens. It happens all the time. Like clockwork.
The best example of female-headed families
I've raised 2 boys.
is the ghetto. Look at the ghetto, folks, if you want to know what it's like.
I think that's a little more complicated, isn't it?
For different reasons, George.
So, tie this off with a bow. Some of the reactions that are happening today to the re-release of George's book, Men and Marriage, are very similar to what happened back in the day. People need to understand that he has a particular set of stipulated definitions and an argument to go with them. We don't want to say that women are naturally virtuous and men are naturally barbarians, but I do think it's fair to say that women are naturally conservative, more conservative than the men are. It's a relative scale. They're naturally conservative because they're betting with more money than the man is. And when I say that women are conservative, I don't mean politically conservative. I mean conservative when it comes to their own life choices. The lesbian world is not as a hotbed of libertinism the same way that the male homosexual world is. Women are more dispositionally conservative when it comes to their own personal choices. And so consequently, that conservatism has protected them such that when things really go to pot, the Apostle Paul says in Romans 1, even the women go that route. There we are.